Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. In today's video, we're going to be diving down into the world of Vechain, specifically to take a look at the price action of VET. As we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all that said, done out of the way, let's dive down into the charts here for Vechain to take a look at what's going on with the price action of VET. To start off with, we're just going to come to this weekly chart just to review the kind of structure of everything that's going on with Vechain here. Now, obviously, we have these 5 impulsive waves to the upside. We've been talking about this for quite some time. I'm not going to go through all the details of that, but we have seen 295% in gains in just 399 days at the beginning of the bull run. We then went into the wave 4 correction, and now we're starting to go into this 5th wave nice and strongly. Now, I know that Vechain can frustrate people with its price action being slower than maybe some of these other altcoins. But on the channel, one of the worst things that we find is moving around and chasing those green candles. Now, obviously, if you time things right, that can be quite successful for you. If you time them wrong, however, you could end up much worse off by moving out of Vechain into something else. The good news is that Vechain is starting to heat up quite nicely, and it does look like things are starting to actually move out quite nicely, where we could be moving into new all-time highs very, very soon. So everything's looking pretty good from the weekly structure, right? Everything's intact, and we can see that nothing moves in straight lines. Even in our third wave, impulsive wave to the upside, we did have several corrections to the downside. Right now, we've actually had a pretty steep one here, completing this cup and handle. If you can see this on the weekly chart relatively smoothly, it's actually a pretty good cup and a pretty good handle, and that does target out 22 cents. Now, obviously, that's a bit slow. We get into the point where we could almost argue that it's been invalidated. But on the weekly chart, it's actually looking very much still intact. So the weekly chart gives us a nice kind of overview of that cup and handle and where it is heading. The daily chart does make it actually look like it's going on the cusp of being validated, and therefore different patterns are starting to emerge. Overall, on the weekly chart here, we have a trend-based fib extensions. Now, these are based from the correction wave 2, the impulsive wave 3, and the correction wave 4. When we take into consideration those 3 anchor points, we actually are able to see that Vechain could move up to a 4.236 extension of $1.20. So some pretty good kind of progress to be had here based on just the trends that we have seen within 2, 3, and 4 here. So again, that's not too bad. Now, if we want to be conservative and just aim for the dollar level, as indicated with the high of 3 and the low of 4, that shows us another 601% from the current price up to that $1 threshold. So everything's looking pretty good from that kind of perspective. Still some healthy gains to be made here with Vechain. The stochastic RSI on the weekly is heading up to the overbought area. Again, this is something that would be expected with wave 1, what we saw with wave 3, and what we're waiting for wave 5, and Vechain starting to heat up there. As we come down into our daily chart, this is where we start to see a little bit more of that detail over what is actually going on with the price action of Vechain. Here we can obviously see the Fibonacci retracement tool running from the high of 3 and the low of 4. And again, this is the one that indicates out to us that $1 threshold, $1.01. That's 601% from the current price position. Now, as indicated earlier, we do have that cup and handle that has been formed on the weekly chart. This is targeting 22 cents, which would put it just above the 702 on our Fibonacci chart here. Again, this 618, 702, 786, the 19.3, 21.2, and 23.1 cent zones are the ones that are going to have the major kind of resistance blocks for us. Right now, we are up against the previous resistance that was up on the 382, coming in at 13.9 cent. It's good to actually see that we are trying to turn this into a support level for us so that we can continue the upward swing to the upside. Now, otherwise, the 50% retracement zone at 16.6 cent is going to be another barrier for us before we even get into that 618. But things are definitely starting to heat up here on a Vechain's chart, something that we could potentially start seeing some pretty good price action and price surges to the upside. Something that we saw previously once we found the bottom of wave 4 here at the end of July, beginning of August, we actually saw a pretty good significant daily rise with Vechain. This is the kind of thing that we're starting to witness over this end of the chart. Pretty much from the end of September through to where we are right now, we've started to see this nice steady rise. Now, nothing moves in straight lines. Even in August, we started to see some corrective sideways trades, which is what you're seeing in Vechain as well. Everything's actually looking pretty tidy from this kind of perspective. And again, you could also argue there's another little kind of mini cup and handle here targeting us out to where we are right now. So again, there's lots of patterns here on the chart that are looking very bullish. Now, obviously, progress can potentially be slow and can frustrate people. With that being said, though, it's important that we also acknowledge what is going on with the artificial intelligence and machine learning at 𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗀𝗧 to help us understand what the sentiment is feeling like right now. Now, they did have problems with Vechain's liquidity, and it's good to see that those problems have actually been resolved. The 𝗕𝗙 ratio is now an A2, which basically does mean that buying and selling Vechain has no more got any more issues, right? So basically, we should start to see that Vechain should start to actually rise up in value a little bit more smoothly than it had done previously. Now, the fear and greed index is up there at an A1, indicating extreme greed right now. So some FOMO activity for Vechain could be seen. This also means that some experienced traders will be looking to take some profit, so you'll find the occasional pullback in the same way that we saw with 𝗕𝗪1 when it reached out to 35 cents. So as we continue down here, we can see the Sharpe ratio at an A2 rating. Again, the A2 rating for the Sharpe ratio is indicating to us that the rewards outweigh the risks, and we might want some exposure to Vechain. Now, this has been the case pretty much since the end of September, when we were above the 50-day average, and we started to increase this quite nicely. So overall, everything from the Sharpe ratio is indicating some exposure to Vechain is a good idea. Now, obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. Chris is not a financial. It's important that you do your own research, and using 𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗀𝗧 to do this is actually going to be one of the pretty helpful things to understand whether or not you want to buy that fear that's in the space, whether or not the Sharpe ratio is in your favor, are there problems with liquidity, and what is that profitability actually looking like. So an A1 profitability, an A2 for moving averages, A2 for Sharpe ratio, A2 for 𝗕𝗙 ratio, and an A1 for the fear and greed index puts Vechain at an A2 rating overall. Now, that A2 rating overall for Vechain, guys, is the best rating we've ever seen on 𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗀𝗧, meaning we have never seen an A1, which is the best that you can actually get. So this is the second best cryptocurrency rating that 𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗀 have, but it also happens to be the best rating they've ever given any cryptocurrency. This means that Vechain is top tier right now and could be seeing some interesting price spikes in the very near future. So when we come back to the charts and we actually start reviewing the kind of price action that's going on here on the daily, we can obviously see that cup and handle potentially coming in at 22.1 cents. In the same way that we saw 𝗕𝗪1 when it was down at these kind of low positions, targeting out to 33 to 34 cents. So everything's looking very, very good and very good, timing wise on this daily chart. If we jump down into our hourly, we can start to see some of the most recent price action for Vechain here. We can see the steady rise that we've had. We can find all these resistance blockers that we had, right? At 12.2 cents was a resistance line. We had 12.5, which was resistance line. We turned the 12.5 into a support, and we continued the growth to the upside, just now taking out the 14.1, and what we're trying to do is turn 14.1 into support, which looks like we are. The stochastic is in the oversold area right now, so we're looking to grow the stochastic, and as I said, we've got really good sentiment right now, which means we can see the volume grow with the price. When the price goes up, the volume goes up, and when the price drops, the volumes drop. That sentiment is very good for Vechain right now, turning the 14.1 cent into a support line, finding that resistance at 14.5. I think we're going to smash past that, targeting out 15.2, back testing from 15.2 on 14.5, turn that 14.5 into support like we did here with 14.1, and then smash past the 15.2 cent zone. I think we've got some pretty good progress to occur here on this daily chart. We just get rid of the volume there, and I think we'll be up here towards our 22 cent in absolutely no time at all. Overall, we did break the trend, and as soon as we broke this downward trend, we had a good surge to the upside, and you can see that we are heading now nicely up towards our 22.1 cent price target for our cup and handle. Overall, there's no issues with the underlying data for Vechain. I do anticipate Vechain performing quite well over the next kind of week, and again, we're heading out towards our 618, 702, 786 areas of the chart where the main battle will occur, and of course it's at those kind of price points that we battle our way through. Once we're past that 786, that's going to be triggering us into new all-time highs and price discovery for Vechain. If we are ever in doubt, we zoom out to the weekly chart, guys. This is where we basically can see the kind of bigger picture, the overall structure, the cheat sheet, if you will, for Vechain, and avoid that kind of the noise that you can see on the daily chart, on the weekly chart, sorry, on the hourly chart. The weekly chart here shows us the kind of progress that we are looking to have, the progress that we've seen so far, and where we are targeting going out to by the end of the bull run. Now, the end of the bull run for Vechain will most likely be in early 2022. I do not anticipate this being, this year. And by the end of the year, I do anticipate a new all-time high. We should potentially be up towards that kind of 50 cent zone. But the actual end of the bull run should see us in with over $1 in Vechain, and I reckon that is likely to be by March 2022. So interesting times do lie ahead. Timing is always the hardest thing to gauge. Use the weekly chart to make sure that we're on track, and try to avoid going down into those smaller time frames like the hourly, the 15-minute charts, because you're going to see so much noise. You're going to basically just miss out the bigger picture on what is actually going on when it comes to VeChain price action. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there, but if you have found it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.